Hamas's ability and willingness to reject the deal is a clear indicator of what the conflict in Gaza actually is. Far from being genocide, it's a war that Hamas started and is losing very badly. You cannot simultaneously cling to a bunch of war goals in order to retain power and continue terrorism, and at the same time claim to be a poor, hapless victim of genocide. The Tutsi in Rwanda, Armenians in the Ottoman Empire, Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto were not slaughtered because they were offered peace terms they then rejected. They were killed for being Tutsis, Armenians, and Jews. That's what genocide actually means.
Konstantin Kisin exposes the utter silence from pro-Palestine activists after Trump's peace plan is announced, and how they almost don't support it.
As regular viewers will know, Israel is not one of my issues. It's not a country I've been to, and until recently, not one I've commented on. When the terrorist attack happened on October 7th, 2023, my reaction was a combination of horror and, strange as it may sound, curiosity. Whenever something happens in the world that I do not understand, my instinct is to try to learn as much as I can before forming an opinion. That's why I said little for a year after October 7th, instead engaging with people on all sides of the argument. On Trigonometry, we interviewed pro-Israel voices like Ben Shapiro, Natasha Hausdorff, and eventually Benjamin Netanyahu himself, as well as those on the other side like Norman Finkelstein, Bassem Youssef, and Ahmed Al-Khatib. Eventually, having listened to the different arguments, I published what became my most viral article and video on the first anniversary of October 7th, entitled Why I'm Off the Fence About Israel's War. In it, I attempted to logically analyze the arguments and reach a conclusion. In short, my view was, and remains, that many of the anti-Israel arguments are at best driven by emotions which are understandable but irreconcilable with the facts, and at worst, deliberate manipulations designed to weaponize our natural horror at seeing the realities of war. Now, as the second anniversary of October 7th approaches, we are witnessing a spectacular cascade of events that reveal the unvarnished truth of this entire debate. And no, I'm not talking about President Trump's 21-point Gaza peace plan. I'm talking about the reaction to it, which reveals what this is actually about. The Trump plan is a roadmap to peace which delivers every single anti-war and pro-peace objective: an immediate end to the war, Israeli withdrawal, the release of over 2,000 Palestinian detainees in exchange for just 20 remaining living Israeli hostages, delivery of aid, reopening of the Rafah crossing with Egypt, a non-Israeli, non-Hamas administration of Gaza, an economic development package, a commitment against the displacement of Palestinians, no annexation, no occupation, and US-mediated talks between Israel and the Palestinians to achieve a, quote, peaceful and prosperous coexistence. To my complete lack of surprise, however, many of the most prominent campaigners against genocide who have graced our airwaves for the last 2 years have either stayed silent or openly called for Hamas to reject the deal. Crystal Ball of Breaking Points, who once published an extraordinary critique of our interview with Netanyahu, which she began by admitting she hadn't actually watched it, spent 20 minutes on her show insinuating that Hamas should not take the deal. Her social media is a continuous stream of virtue signaling with no mention of the fact that if you want to stop the genocide, an offer to do so is on the table. Candace Owens, another peace enthusiast, hasn't even bothered to comment on President Trump's peace proposal at all. She's too busy making money from Charlie Kirk's murder by conducting her own investigation into his assassination from the comfort of her own studio. Hint, Jews are involved. Here in Britain, Owen Jones has not only failed to urge Hamas to accept the deal, but on the contrary, has shared tweets and videos portraying it as unacceptable, effectively suggesting that it should be rejected. Meanwhile, Jeremy Corbyn dismissed the deal as yet another colonial endeavor. It's important to say, I don't believe it's in Hamas' interest to accept the Trump peace plan. After all, it requires them to disarm and relinquish any role in the future governance of Gaza. Hamas is perfectly entitled to reject a deal it dislikes, in exactly the same way Ukraine won't accept peace terms with Russia that it feels would damage its long-term interests. But Hamas's ability and willingness to reject the deal is a clear indicator of what the conflict in Gaza actually is. Far from being genocide, it's a war that Hamas started and is losing very badly. You cannot simultaneously cling to a bunch of war goals in order to retain power and continue terrorism, and at the same time claim to be a poor, hapless victim of genocide. The Tutsi in Rwanda, Armenians in the Ottoman Empire, Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto were not slaughtered because they were offered peace terms they then rejected. They were killed for being Tutsis, Armenians, and Jews. That's what genocide actually means. One of the oldest tricks used by liars throughout the ages is what I call sleight of mouth, where definitions are stretched beyond their remit to get people to believe lies. This is a powerful technique because if I can get you to misapply the term genocide to the conflict in Gaza, I can get you to stop seeing it as a battle between two belligerents and instead treat Israel as the criminal and Hamas as the victim. What the last few days have shown is that the overwhelming majority of those demanding an end to the so-called genocide in Gaza do not believe it is one themselves, as demonstrated by their unwillingness to pressure Hamas to accept a deal that would end it. This is a war. Their side is losing, and they're using the suffering of Palestinian civilians, human shields placed in harm's way by Hamas, to generate clicks, likes, and views.
Absolutely brilliant from Konstantin. Let's give that a round of applause there. And just one thing I want to comment on beyond the fact that, yeah, obviously he's correct. If it is a genocide from their point of view, why would they not accept the deal, right? You can't call it a genocide when you have a way to get out of it, when you have a way to just say, okay, we're surrendering, right? The Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto didn't get that. No genocide has happened where the people that were being genocided had a peace deal on the table and just kept on rejecting it. That's A. But also B, from our side, from our point of view, why are we offering Hamas a deal that's not total surrender? It would be the equivalent of giving the Nazis in Germany, oh, here you go. You get to decide the terms, giving them a chance to even look over. No, even if you're not going to say it's total surrender, Hamas shouldn't get to review the deal. I'm sorry. That's it. The deal is in place. It's over, right? Any out at this point for Hamas should be like accepted as a grace from God. Okay, anything that they get at this point, they should be grabbing, right? But instead, they're making the West and everybody else look like weaklings and pathetic by adding more and more conditions and trying to pretend like they're the ones that are winning the war. And it's sickening. It's sickening. From my perspective, I don't even think there should be a deal, right? But if you're going to do a deal, if you're going to say Hamas, okay, fine, give us back the hostages, we'll let you survive, but you're not going to have control of the Gaza Strip. If you're going to have a deal, that's it. Like there's no like giving it to them for terms and back and forth. No, this is a deal. Take it or leave it, right? And this idea that they can like switch it is in my belief insane. Thank you for watching this video. For more, subscribe to the channel. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored and go to Konstantin Kisin trigonometry channel as well. Show them some love. Thank you for watching. And here is a message from me. If you believe in what we do here over at Jewish Uncensored, consider supporting us in a few different ways. You can support us monetarily by going to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. You can also go to our new merchandise store, IsraelUncensored.com, where we just dropped a bunch of new merch. Additionally, to gain access to exclusive content, you can go to our memberships tab on this channel and join there. And finally, you can share this video with both family and friends in order to share this message with the world. Thank you so much for your support.